What's up? What's up? I'm Dustin Corbett, your host of the new podcast, Two Steps Ahead. Episode 2, coming at you. Good afternoon, good morning to all of you paying attention, hanging out with us for a few minutes. We appreciate you. Thank you again for hanging with us. We got a pretty good feedback from last week. Obviously, last week's first episode was basically just an explanation in terms of where Two Steps Ahead comes from, where our mindset is at, why we went with that title choice, and basically kind of the culmination of why we make all the decisions we make here on a daily basis. That being said, this week, I want to talk about culture. Kind of a buzzword going around, and it has been for quite a while. I think it always will be, which is fine. But I mean no discouraging take on using the word culture. I'm not just trying to fit in here. Really what culture means to me is absolutely everything. Absolutely everything. I've worked for quite a few places throughout my career. Not necessarily a job hopper. I don't like that title, and I haven't been. I really haven't made a downward move, with the exception of one, which I actually explained when I was hanging with Sean Welsh in his 5 minutes with Sean, maybe 10. But I've worked for a couple different companies, and throughout my career, the culture and the feeling and the vibes of a store or of a company shed its light almost immediately when you walk into the building. Now, with a new hire, it might be a little different. No one's going to tout themselves or describe themselves to a new hire as an average company or as a company that has its rough patches, and explain all the reasons why it might not be everything that someone would think it would be when they're taking on a new role. That's obvious. But the true culture really rears its head, good or bad, within minutes of walking into that culture. And I feel that the feeling that each and every employee within a business has the moment that they walk into that building, or if they work from home, the moment that the feeling that they have the moment that they get going, will explain everything. What we try to do on a daily basis in business is to have a group of people that absolutely love their job. There's no job that's never going to have its downs. There's no job that's never going to have any kind of negatives or rough patches. But the point is, when we have a culture to where the good far exceeds the few negative moments that come with a job, we're going to be just fine. This doesn't mean that if you have a good culture and absolutely no one has any idea of how to produce at a high level within that industry that they're in, that everything's going to be okay, because that's clearly not the case. You need talent, you need skill, you need experience, you need high producers, next level execution to really take things off. But I said in a post on LinkedIn a few months ago that, to me, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And I kind of got into a little description of that. It was only a minute or so. Fortunately, we have a little bit more time here, as long as we need. I'm going to try to keep this short for all of you listening. Again, I appreciate it. But really, the culmination of hard work beating talent when talent doesn't work hard goes so far to a production level of a team or a group or a business or a company. I said in this post that I would take a far less talented body in any role that absolutely busts ass every day in the time slot that they're scheduled to be here, that comes to work with a beast mode mentality, wants to learn, wants to get better, gels with the vibes of the building, a mission statement, maybe, if you will, or maybe even nothing in writing or on the wall, but really gels with the morals of that company and where they're headed, and they believe in it. Even if they're not the most talented, they believe in it and they're willing to put in the hard work and the effort and trying to get better every single day and giving it maximum effort. Almost producing at 120% of their talent level on a daily basis. Now, if that 120% equals 80% of the next guy or lady, I'll take the 120. Because what that means is the 80%, the person performing at 80% of their capabilities, isn't mentally in the game. Has not solely bought in to the company that they're working for. Does not see the vision. Or if they do, they don't buy in with it. They don't see eye to eye with the company. They're not giving it everything that they possibly can on a daily basis, or they'd be at 100% or 120% of their potential. But they're at 80. So I would take the 120 if it's equivalent or maybe even a little bit less than the 80% production of the next person. I was told by my college pitching coach, the last game that I've ever played in collegiate baseball, we grouped up, we lost in a conference finals, I believe it was. We got together in a group, and the coach went around the seniors, gave them a little pep talk, farewell amongst the group. And on that day, I received the best compliment that I think that I've ever received. Coach told me, Dust, I've never coached a player in my life that produced higher than the potential to which they had. Now, at first, I didn't really even understand what that even meant. How the hell can you produce more than a potential? That would mean your potential is higher than what you produce. I didn't really get it. But when I thought about it years and years later, I understood what he meant. I wasn't the most God-gifted, talented player. Wasn't the fastest, wasn't the strongest, didn't throw the hardest on the mound. Didn't have the best stuff. But nobody outworked me. Still to this day, I don't believe anyone does. It's the only way I've made it in business, the only way I made it anywhere in athletics. I severely outworked everybody. I gave it absolutely everything that I had every day. Therefore, what I was able to accomplish seemed that there was no more that I could possibly have produced. I didn't have the skill, but I made it where I made it purely because I attached some talent. Don't get me wrong, I mean, I had some skill, but I didn't have massive amounts of skill. But I made it where I made it with a little bit of skill and a hell of a lot of hard work. Those are the type of people we want. And if we compliment those type of people and we give them kudos for the hard work and the effort that they're giving, it's only going to give them the desire to keep that rolling every day. It's going to make them feel good. We need to do this. Again, even if they're equivalent or even slightly less than the person to the left or right of them that is underproducing to their potential, we need to give the respect to those people that they deserve. On top of that, I also want to, and we alluded to this slightly last week, empathy from leadership is absolutely a must. What I mean is, from the top down, from our leadership, from our management teams, we need to lead with empathy. Now, I'm talking empathy in regards to even mistakes made. We are all going to make mistakes. Our people should not feel that they're nervous. They should not feel that they're going to be demeaned or tortured or belittled when they make a mistake. They're going to make mistakes. We all are. But if our people feel that they are nervous or scared to make a mistake, and they are running scared, working scared, they're going to make more than they would if they didn't feel that way. And on top of that, they're never going to learn from those mistakes, which they should do, which we all should do. We should all learn from our mistakes. It's almost as if I want mistakes made, because when they are made, we just got better. We're going to fix that mistake right away, however we can. And if it's not made out of malice, if there was no premeditated intent to this mistake, which is obviously a completely different story. But if it's just simply a human error, a mental or physical mistake made, we're going to take that and we're going to move forward, so long as we don't make that same mistake again. But we want our people to realize that they will make mistakes, that they won't get severely punished. They might get a slap on the wrist, of course. But from the top down, no one's going to make them feel like they're 6 inches tall. It's going to make everything that much worse. I make mistakes every single day. And if anybody listening says that they don't make mistakes, I'm sorry, but you're lying to yourself. That's not true. It can't be true. Everyone makes mistakes. I think it's the people that take a mistake that they make, fix it the quickest, learn from it the quickest, and actually take that mistake and make sure that no one implements that same mistake, or they implement a process to where that mistake is not made again, are those that are the most successful. Has to be done, because the mistakes will happen 100%. Again, if you're saying you don't make a mistake, I'm sorry. You're lying. Don't lie to yourself anymore. Look at yourself in the mirror. Say, I made a mistake. Say, I make mistakes. Own it. Eat it. Move forward. Simple. It's almost like someone with an addiction to something that's not good. What's the first step? Well, admitting that you have an addiction is the hardest, but it's number one. When you admit this, then you can get over it. Then you can take the steps necessary to get over those hurdles. Make sure you don't have those hurdles again, and make things smoother as you go along. Kind of playing into the whole idea of 2 steps ahead, as we spoke about last week. And finally, with culture, what do you know? I guess I can form this as a question. Do you, as a leader or boss or manager, do you know what moves your people on an individual level as to their motivation? Their, and I'm doing air quotes here, their why. Not everyone's why is going to be the same. My why is not the same as some of the people's why in this building and in this company. And that's quite all right. If it was all the same, I think we'd actually have a problem, but it's not. My why is one thing. And if I had a group of 10 people in this room, I would venture to say that there's probably 7 to 8 different whys. 7 to 8 different complete motivations, and 7 to 8 different reasons as to why they get up in the morning, come to work the hours that we do, which everybody and anybody that knows anything about the automotive industry realizes that hours are aplenty. Why do we do this? Why do they do it? Again, it's different for everybody. I'll give you an example. In the beginning of every month, we try to sit down with our employees, mainly those that are commission-based. And if their why is determined by a particular goal that they've set up for themselves on a monthly basis, and we'll get into goals on another episode down the road, I feel differently about them. I have a catch-22 kind of thought process. I like them, I don't like them, and we'll explain that later. Please don't take me too literal with that. I'll explain myself at a later date. But what their goals are on an individual level, on a monthly basis, we sit down and we try to attain how they're going to reach their goals together. One of the easiest things and best ways to do anything is to verbalize what you want to do. Tell somebody, tell a friend, tell your family, tell a coworker, tell somebody. Say, I'm going to do this. This is my plan. I'm not there yet. It may seem crazy to you. I may seem completely nuts by thinking this way, and this is what I want to accomplish. But when you verbalize things and tell other people, it's almost as if you're asking someone else to hold you accountable for doing what it is you want to do. Because we all know that self-accountability is actually one of the harder things to attain. So if we hold each other accountable, which is what we do and which is how culture is really built, or easier to attain when you have a good culture, the multiple accountabilities. I don't even know if those are words, but I'm using them, so there. But if each other is holding each other accountable, it makes it a hell of a lot easier for us to provide truth in our feedback. So when someone says to me, I'm going to take an example, when the salesperson says, I want to make X amount of dollars this year, I'm going to use this as a live example. We did this in 2019. I'm sorry, I think it was actually 2018. They said they want to make X amount of dollars this year. Coming up towards the last pay schedule, last pay period of that year, they were very, very close. And when the commission base set up, as a lot of automotive is, this person needed to make a particular transaction with a certain amount of gross profit built into that transaction to hit, to hit their annual figure. Now, this was the absolute last day for them to make that, so their paycheck would read that figure before the calendar year turned over. So the YTD in a paycheck would read that number they were going after. It wasn't the last week of the year. It was 2 weeks prior. We wanted that paycheck to read the YTD they were looking for. Last day of business. It was on a Saturday. Again, everybody that knows the automotive industry realizes that on a Saturday, there is almost no such thing as a dealer trade going on. You might write a deal that is on a car that is not in your inventory, and then during the week, you figure out a dealer trade, a swap, whatever you want to call it. You go get that car, and so on and so forth. So what did we do? Well, we were making a deal. We didn't have the vehicle. So I decided that it was up to me, the only one that didn't have anything going on that day, a lot of times on Saturdays, I don't have much to do, to be quite frank with you. So I got in a car. I drove down to another Toyota store, did a dealer trade, brought the car back up so we could deliver the car. That one deal would have been on the books that following week for me, for the store, for the managers, for anybody and everybody that gets paid on any type of profit, unit, whatever, within that calendar month. That would have happened if it was on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. But it would not have read on that pay stub for this particular employee had we not done this. So to me, holding myself accountable, because I want to hold my people accountable, I had to do whatever the heck it was that I had to do. We had to go get that car. We had to get that car now. We had to deliver that car now in order for that to work out for this employee. So I'm totally cool with jumping in the car for an hour and a half and bringing the car back so they can deliver this vehicle so their numbers will show their numbers, because that was a goal that they'd set forth 12 stinking months ago. And they were so darn close that I was going to do whatever it takes for this person to hit their number. That number didn't make any difference to me in my personal life. The only difference it made was that I was able to do something to help this person achieve what they wanted to achieve. That, to me, is an example of how we need to do things. I will bend over backwards for anybody and everybody that works for me if there's anything that I can do that's within reason at all. And because of that, I feel that everybody that works here would do the same. It's a two-way street. It's not just something that you can say in a morning meeting. It's not something that you can type up in an email and mass blast it out to everybody that works in your company. It has to be personal. It has to be intimate. You have to feel it. You have to want it. You have to bleed the desire to help your people. And if you do, they will help you. All the while, every minute that you help them or they help you, you're also helping yourself and they are helping themselves. That is what we try to do every day to build our culture to where we have the best group of people in the world working for us, and we all come together for one goal. And that one goal is maximize every opportunity. Every day that we're open for business, we're going to give it 120% of what we have. And we're going to do it not only for ourselves, but for the people to our left and to our right. I hope everybody takes something out of this. Again, I appreciate you. We appreciate everyone paying attention, hanging with us for a few minutes. We went a little overboard today with the timing. But again, like I said last week, sometimes when we get going on some ideas or some topics, I get a little long-winded. But I hope you're okay with that. I hope everybody can take just one thing: better yourselves, better your people. When you better your people, they're bettering you. We're all in this thing together. I appreciate you. So that's going to wrap this up for episode 2 of the new podcast, 2 Steps Ahead. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Please subscribe, listen, follow to all the links below. We're soon to be up on all of the mediums and outlets for the podcast. I think we have 3 or 4 of them now, but the others will be out here soon. So thank you, Emily Osborne, and thanks everybody for hanging. We will chat with you soon. Until next time, good vibes.